Hello and welcome to another Wise Tips. Eduardo, how are you today?
Well, doing well. Excited for my one more, wise tips.
I know every week it's all the same again. But we got another good, really exciting game to continue our series, talking a little bit about small things you can do that make the biggest difference as far as time saving. Everyone could use a little bit more of that in their day. And today is a continuation of our last one in which we are going to be showcasing and talking in depth about each one of our data entry tools. And today's showcase shiny is macros.
Macros. Yes, I love macros. Um, it came to my attention when user said, "Do I have to click this number of times to enter a charge? Do I have to use the mouse and the keyboard every time?"
Oh.
This is dragging me, big time here. It's taking forever. So how can we get into the click killer mode? Macro is your best friend.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen and we can
Yes.
get started
So
with
the
it.
idea of macros for me, it's all about when you get to a situation that you have a charge that you enter, over and over again, something that is very present in your daily operation, and you want to simply decrease the number of clicks, and you want to literally get into the click killer mode. It's just the most efficient as far as clicks, as far as being fast with your entries. You literally put the computer to work for you. So let's go
Absolutely.
through the basics. How would you describe macro?
Yeah. So macro is a custom short key and it is on a per user basis. So each user can have their own macros. You can access your macros really easily to see which ones you've already created by clicking on the label link. And I'll zoom back out so you can see my list here. And I'll just show you here how easy it is to use it. And then we'll go over actually how to create one. So for example, if I wanted to go ahead and enter in something, let's say a lameness exam, I actually have a macro created it. I've actually used a number instead of letters. So you can use numbers, letters, special characters. So I just type in 110 and click enter, and it adds the charge there for my lameness exam. So you'll see it pop up right here below in my list of procedures there for this extended lameness exam. So very, very easy, very quick, very click killer mode. And then we'll go over, of course, how to create one.
It can be a sedation, it can be a lameness exam, it can be butebenamine, whatever, the most popular codes. There's a little learning curve, and you're going to probably invest some time creating your own macros, because macro is on a per user basis. It's how your brain works. But at the end of the day, we promise you guys, Task Finder, it's good for things that you do not have use every day, so you don't remember the code. But for those things, the other day, Rich, I was watching one of our old-time users, because we said that DCS was the most efficient way. That person was going to DCS and giving one shot of oxytocin. So I got it. That person was trying to be efficient, because we said this yes is the fastest way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for one code, that's not the case.
Right.
So for one code, and if oxytocin, for example, especially for reproduction centers, is something that you use all the time.
Yes.
So, create one macro that decided to go with the oxytocin. X, just X, it's whatever it's in your brain. And because, yes, DCS, you could go to the DCS, have your list, but it's not the most efficient one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go ahead and I'll create one. And actually, funny enough, you can create one here using the Task Finder, which is awesome, because then as you're learning this, right, and you're probably using the Task Finder a lot, you can be creating macros as you go. So
Yes.
You will use it less and less if you create them as
So
you
to
go.
create the macro, you use your good friend Task Finder, get to the point almost to place the charge, but you don't go that far.
Pause here.
You pause there. Don't submit. Just to stay there for a moment, because that's where you create your macro.
So up at the top right corner, you of course have that macro labeling with the white text box. So in that white text box is where you're going to create your macro. So it can be letters, numbers, special characters. You can even use.
Only for you.
And it's only for you. Another thing to keep in mind too, it says not case sensitive. So a lot of people will instantly, they like the caps, and I get it. I like it, but it's not case sensitive. So you're just going to waste time clicking another key.
Whatever your keyboard is, the most frequent situation. If your keyboard stay uppercase, use uppercase. If your keyboard is lowercase, if you don't use uppercase, use lowercase.
Yep.
It's whatever the easiest scenario. Now, the beauty here, it's the combination, guys. So the power of macros is because not only the item itself, but you can have different quantities. So a particular drug, you have a dosage of 5 mils, 10 mils, 15 mils. You create one macro for 5, one macro for 10, one macro for 15, because the quantity is associated to the macro.
Yes. That's one of my favorite things. One last thing you're just talking about when you're entering in your macro and your characters that you're entering in, try and keep it 5 characters or less. I've seen some people that will like spell out the word. The key is to click killer, not click adding. So keep it short. I know sometimes it can be a little difficult depending on certain tasks you're trying to do it for. You'll get the hang of it. Just try and keep, again, 5 or less is kind of that.
As a matter of fact, I've seen people using, I applaud them so big when they use just one letter.
One letter, or they just number them and they go, oh, that's 1,
yes.
That's 2, that's 3.
Yes. So
you can memorize that. That's great.
Now, a particular drug, how would you use the combination of letters and numbers, Rachel?
So like this one, for example, so I have this Tetoxoid, vaccine. So in this case, I have it actually set up by dose. So I'm going to leave the quantity as 1. But if I had to set up like per mil, I might want to adjust the quantity first. Maybe it's typically a 5 mil dose. So if this was in mils, I'd probably do 5 here before I created my macro. And then you can incorporate, if you wanted to remember, maybe it's not always 5. Maybe sometimes it's 5, maybe sometimes it's 4. So if this was the 5, mil macro, I might put 5 and then TT. So I know that was 5 mils of Tetox. Or if this was, maybe I change this back to, and this was maybe 4, then I could change this up here just so I knew which one I was using and change this to 4. Now, every time I create a macro, every time I create this, so I'm going to change this here back real quick to 1. And if I want to create this, all I have to do is type in my special characters here, my macro, and then click this save button up at the top right. And it saves it and it doesn't do anything. It pauses it. So, a cool trick is that you can sit here and create multiple macros for the same item. So you could sit here and be like, okay, well, sometimes I do 1, but sometimes it might do 2. So maybe I'm going to create now my other macro here for 2. So 2 TT and then click save. So you can just sit here and create multiple.
From that point on, that's your acronym for that quantity and that item. So that's
exactly
that's so fast. And of course, like your brain, but it's not only quantity. What else?
Right. So for those that use Impact and the package Impact, you can also actually do this by container as well. So for those that use our advanced feature Impact, you'll know that you have, your base units in your containers. So you might in some cases be charging for a dose, but you might in some cases be charging for the whole bottle. Maybe you dispense the bottle.
Yes.
So you can flip this here to the container, and then I can then go ahead and remake my macro here and then have that there and click save. And then now that's my macro there for 1 container. Again, for those using Impact, it's a little special feature there, but that is not the only thing it can memorize.
Well, we have comments.
We have comments.
Coacher, sometimes you have different results and it's all about killing the clicks.
Yes.
So if you have to type words and that sentence, it's always the same, create a macro with different sentences.
Yep.
And you can save a macro with sentence A and another macro with sentence B and so on. You're just using those acronyms and avoiding all those keystrokes and mouse clicks.
Exactly. So a good one for this one, maybe I always, every time I want to do this with this TED Talks, maybe I always want to say how I administered. So maybe admin I don't know. So then again, now that I want to go ahead and create that macro so that it memorizes the quantity and my comment I wrote there, I'm going to create a new macro. So I'll say TTM, and that's a little too many T's, M, and click save. And now when I enter in that macro TTM, it's going to charge for 1 TED Talks with the comment admin IM.
The only precaution I would use regarding macros is if sometimes I've seen people going crazy and trying to do for things that are not that popular. So in that case, I will be the one defending our good friend Task Finder. So, Task Finder is a good one for things that happen once in a while, not heavily on the daily basis.
Yep. Absolutely. The last thing I'll mention there about creating macros, and this again goes to those users that have our impact package. You can also actually link together a macro and require the custom description wizard to come up automatically when you use that macro. So think like joint injections and blocks and radiographs.
Radiographs.
Yeah, really helpful there. So you can keep that same same click, less clicks that you do like in your digital circle sheets when you utilize that, but using your macro instead.
Yes. So today we really, I hope, gave a bunch of incentives around our good friend macros.
I think so. Hopefully here I'll end it with doing another one there just for fun.
Yes.
Put that one back there too. So there I entered that in. That macro I used there was my macro I created with the comment. So you can see there, it automatically added that comment there that I memorized, admin I am.
All right.
All right. Well, I think this is a good deep dive into macros. As always, if y'all have any questions, let us know. And we're excited to see you in the next one.
See you there.
Bye.